All right, we are now recording again. We are back in live session, open session. It is now 6:01. We've talked about this a lot, and I want to get to a decision tonight. One way or another, let's move this forward so we can get on with the rest of our lives and start moving this forward and put this one behind us. And from a practical standpoint, I think we need to get something in motion. Councilmember Lohman, question? Comment?
Not a question, just a comment. Mayor, I look at the city charter to kind of guide me in this process here, and it really kind of talks about the types of training experiences and the administrative qualifications that are needed for appointment or selection of a city manager. At this point, I don't have the information from the process that we have to be able to make an informed decision. And so what I would suggest that either we produce a process that allows all of us to get on the same page with that, or go down the traditional route that we have in the past, where we have brought in a search committee and brought all of the city manager candidates through that process. I just want a process that will work. If we want to just go through a straight appointment, I need to be able to answer these questions that are in here that I think every elected person needs to have before they appoint somebody to that role.
Councilmember? Others wishing to weigh in here? I mean, I would echo a lot of what Councilmember Lohman said. I go back to the need and the importance of a process in this to make it a defensible decision, to make it a decision that if people come back and question in any way, we can say we went through the steps. I look at the work that we did with the 9 Mile Creek work that we did, and we've all said it. We stuck to the process, and we got to a point where we needed to be. If we'd simply made a decision at the start of it, it would have been double-guessed or second-guessed and questioned for the rest of time. But to go through the process as we did and come to that conclusion that we did gives it some legitimacy, I think, in the eyes of the community. And I think those are the steps we need to take here as well. Other thoughts? Councilmember?
Thank you. I would say I agree largely with that. And for us to find a new process to do the process that's already there, I think it's going to take more time and push this timeline out. So my preference would be to put everyone through the search firm, put the best people out there, including our assistant city managers who want to be to take that role, so that we don't have to go through this rigmarole of trying to confirm the appointment and find a different process, and then if they can't hit that process, then we have to go back to the old way anyway. So that's where I'm at.
Others? Councilmember?
I just have a hard time. I mean, I understand the process, but I have a hard time understanding what are the misgivings that my fellow council members and the mayor have on making a choice on somebody that has already proven herself on the ability to do the job. I find it very difficult, and not just myself, but a lot of my constituents, that I continue to get emails wondering why are we going a different way when we have two very capable people of doing the job. As we know, only one of them has decided to try to get the position, and I find it extremely difficult, because if you compare 9 Mile Creek, a lot of involvement from the public had effect on what we decided or how the whole thing worked out, because the public got directly involved with that. Otherwise, it would have gone any way that the council had decided to take it. So, in my opinion, I think we are somehow having doubt on the people that are currently doing the job, because we don't trust that they are going to be capable of doing that said job. If you don't let it happen, how are we going to find out if they're capable or not? So far, they have proven to be very capable. So I find it very difficult to adhere to a formality that is just a formality, that is going to take longer to bring somebody in, and it's going to add some cost to it as well. So, I have a very difficult time accepting that mindset. That's all I got.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. In my opinion, if we didn't have confidence in them to do this job, we would have hired an interim city manager. We didn't, and they've demonstrated that they're capable of doing this work, and they are doing this work. And so I don't see, since we asked them by not hiring an interim city manager, we asked them to do this work, I don't see any reason to stop that. I think we move forward with it. We made that decision previously, and I think we codify that, and we give assurance to the rest of the organization of what that structure is, and we move forward with our strategic plan. We move forward with the enormous work that we have to do this year on our budget, and I prefer to just, the fact is, they've done the work. And that's why I asked the question I asked. And I'm confident in that, and I believe in that, and I'd say let's just look at the body of work and make the decision based on that.
Hold on, let's make sure everybody.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Others have an opportunity.
I don't have anything new to say that I
Okay.
didn't say the last time. Thanks.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
Oh, I didn't-
Councilmember Lohman?
So I guess all I would say is, certainly when I made the decision, it was based on the fact that we would have two city managers. I have a lot more experience with Elizabeth Tolzman. When we move forward with this part, and if a reporter were to ask me, what were the merits here? Have you seen this person's resume? I haven't seen the person's resume, haven't gone through the process. And so it would be difficult for me at this point in time, though I've seen the work over the last, few months, but that again was in a co-type situation. The charter, in my opinion, requires that we have a deeper dive, and I've been through that deeper dive before. At this point in time, if we're not going to go through the traditional search, I would ask that we bring, whatever candidate that we have forward and have some other process. So that's what I'm looking for, to have a much deeper dive to make sure as we move forward with this. I don't know what type of city management experience the current candidate has. I don't know the workflow and the things that were done in other places. I haven't looked at any of the references myself. That's not something that I've done in the past. In the past, the search committee took care of that. So, yes, I know that was done internally, but we weren't a part of that, and this is our one hire that we have. So those are the questions that I have. And the last thing I'll say is that, I think merit is an important part of any role that we have here, and this role is over everything that we have. And so I just want to make sure that we go through a coordinated process that we have in case we are asked these situations. I want to be able to fully support whatever decision that we make kind of moving forward.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Please.
I apologize, Councilmember, you made me think of a question I'd like to ask. Is the issue for those of you that want a formal process, is the issue largely that it's because you didn't get to pick the person outright? Because to me that doesn't feel like necessary. We all don't get to pick everything all the time. If that's a really, really important consideration, I want to understand that. I don't have it, that's not a hang up I have to say, if we all believe that Jamie was doing a good job as city manager and he picked these people, then I'm gonna back that was a good hire, or I'm not. In which case I'm calling into question why we had Jamie as city manager for 10 years if we didn't think we trusted him. So I'm trying to understand, I guess, what the thing is. Here's where I guess I land. If the process needs to be the process because we want to be able to say to some public group of people I have yet to understand and identify that we checked all the boxes and we can say without question that this was an impartial and formal process and here's our candidate, regardless of whether it ends up being Ms. Hedin or not. If that's the most important thing, if the process is the most important thing, I am not a fan of process for process sake, but I'll concede that point. What I would demand then from this body is that we commit to that process being expedited. That when the consultant calls in and says, you're on deck at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to show up for an interview, that you show up for the interview or you miss your window. And you don't delay the process another 2 weeks because you couldn't be bothered to show up that time or whatever. Like, that's what I'm looking for, because this is, in my opinion, process getting in the way of doing the right thing for the city. That's my personal opinion on this. This is a process that I think will end up in the same place. I hope so anyway. And if you want to call me biased on that, fine. But I don't have any reason to believe otherwise. So if we're going to go through a process and we feel really, really strongly that we need that process, then I would expect us to all commit that process gets done as quickly as possible, and that you don't use your position as a city council member as a way to like make it harder for everybody else. That you show up, that if you can't make it and you can't be there on time, then you know what, or you know, whatever, because what ends up happening, we couldn't even get ourselves together to have a retreat that we said we needed for a year, and it's May before we're doing it. Like, this process could be delayed by our schedules, and I don't. That just seems like process getting in the way of actually doing the work, and that's what frustrates me about this need to have a process. So.
So I would say my feelings are pretty much in alignment with what my comments were last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was. But I would either want to go down the path of appointment or a competitive process. Like, I think I would have concerns about, I think maybe you said this, but if we were to go through a process just to have just to vet resumes and things like that of one person, and then get to the other side and decide, oh, well, we're still not sure, and then have to go through a competitive process then again. Do you know what I mean? I could foresee that we would be in a very similar
Could you
situation.
help me understand, pardon me, Mayor, what do you mean by appointment?
Well, so you were saying that you wouldn't feel comfortable moving forward with City Manager Hedin right now because you don't know her resume, her background, her city manager experience, et cetera. So you would want at least a process to look through all of that.
So I'm curious about what you mean by appointment process, because that sounds like a different process than the...
Aren't we talking about appointing a city manager?
Well, right, yeah, I thought you were maybe...
No,
Yeah,
I'm talking
okay.
about appointing a
Okay.
city manager.
Thanks for clarifying for me, I was just a little confused.
So I wouldn't want to have one process and then get to the end of the we'd probably be in the exact same position we are in now, where we can't agree, and then have to then go through another competitive process, adding on to the time.
So council, I'm gonna drive it to one way or another here. So I'm gonna make a motion that we direct staff to initiate the search firm contract and begin a nationwide search for our next city manager, knowing that we could push for the expedited. I mean, we could have the discussion about whatever, I can't even remember what the search firm had talked about for a timeline, but we can push it to shorten it by half if we wanted to. I mean, we could talk about whatever the timeline would be.
If I
So
may, why don't we just vote on it and decide that way instead?
that's the motion that I just made. I'm looking for a second.
I mean,
We've got a motion and a second to move forward with the search firm. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
I-
Motion carries 5-2. And I agree with you, Councilmember. We've got to move this along. And then it's incumbent on everyone in this room to move this along. And we can't have the delays that will come like we saw with the trying to put together a retreat. We can't have that. This needs to be priority one for everybody in this room. And because you're going to be asked to be part of this process. The city council hires exactly one person, and it's the city manager. And the council will play an incredibly important role in this, defining what we want in a city manager, meeting with candidates. I mean, it's going to be one more thing on your calendar, I admit that. But to get to the decision that we want to get to, and who knows where we're going to end up. but we're going to get to that decision, we need that commitment from everybody in this room, okay?
And if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Opt out if you can't. Like, and don't come here at the end of this whole thing and say, well, I couldn't make those meetings, so I need a more process. Like, don't do that to us, please.
No.
Either show up or step away and say, I concede my decision to the rest of council. Like, that's what I'm looking for, because other than that, we're not, this is stupid. Like, I'll just be on record. I already think it's stupid. It's gonna get more stupid looking if we put ourselves in the way of this process.
Agree more. Let's better.
Just a question. When we bring on the firm, I assume they have kind of an initial phase where they're doing kind of an intake process of where we'll develop a position description